All right, it's 11:30-ish. You're here for another version of With Tom and Fern. I'm Tom.
I'm Fern.
All right, you know what? First thing is, Rays have a 12-10 start today. I'm going to issue the no-hit alert. No-hit alert.
I was underlining it for emphasis.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's because the Cy Young Award winner from last year is pitching against the Rays, and the Rays have had 3 times in the last 3 games when the opposing pitcher was twirling a perfect game late into the game.
You know, we always talk about the Rays offense. Is this the coincidence that it happened 3 straight games? I'm sure you could look at an entire season's performance and see that the Rays hitters have probably been no-hit several times into the 5th or 6th inning. What do? You just got to expect if you're the Rays to have your pitcher pitch a 3-hitter or match the opponent. It's very tough to do.
Yeah, it is. But the thing is, they're only half game out, right?
Right.
So, you know, it's pretty amazing that they're there. But anyway, so you were going to bring up something?
Oh, I was going to bring up just the biggest event that's happening here in Sarasota, the powerboat racing, Saturday and Sunday. The big difference this year is there's 2 days of racing. Won't quite have the big super boats that we've had here in the past, but we'll have some 40-foot boats. And everybody's talking like this could be one of the better ones. They have jet skiers this year, little local entries. I know you're not big on boat racing, Chief.
No, I'm not big. But you know what? I've always wanted to say this on some sort of broadcast. Mm-hmm. Be there.
It sounds like you should be doing the call of these boats.
Okay,
it's always a big thing, and it's a big weekly.
Are you taking your dinghy out?
I am taking I take my dinghy wherever I go. But you were a little bit upset today. I got to bring this up to our. We teased WTF at the top of the paper, and I mentioned we're going to talk about wrestling today because we had the Spanish wrestling and the death of Dusty Rhodes a couple of weeks ago. You didn't seem to like Chief, and you got some blowback. I think that I said you were once body slammed by a midget grappler, and I said that tongue in cheek, but you actually had people believing that you were body slammed by a midget grappler. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I can talk. Like I work on the editorial page where we actually understand that people still believe what they read in the Herald-Tribune. So I owe you one.
All right, so be very strong.
Yeah. So anyway, I was looking back Michael Scott Davidson's story and Tom Bender's photos the other day about the Lucha Libre Espectacular in Palmetto a couple weeks ago.
Right. I get mine in a venti.
Yeah. But anyway, it got me thinking about old school wrestling and how every region of the country used to have its own wrestling promotions. I grew up with Championship Wrestling from Florida.
Right, with Gordon Soley.
Gordon Soley behind the mic. Gordon, as I write in my column Sunday, had the face of a radio announcer.
Right.
A gravelly voice, but the guy in a great deadpan. But he was the best. Gordon Soley was the best. My favorite was when somebody in the ring would start bleeding. The other guy would bring a foreign object into the ring, and he would rake him across the top of the head, and then he'd start bleeding, and all of a sudden Gordon would say, "His face is a crimson mask."
Now, you had Gordon Soley down here. I grew up in the Northeast where we had WWF wrestling. It was worldwide wrestling, and Vince McMahon, who now runs the show for, what's it called now? It's not called
WWE.
Basically, he was the announcer back then, and my own personal story, I went to a wrestling match when I was 13 years old, and I threw a cup at the Lanza brothers. Those who know wrestling, Blackjack Mulligan, Blackjack Lanza. I threw a cup, hit him in the back of the leg. 2 cops saw me. I was escorted out, thrown out into the street. A 13-year-old waiting for his dad to pick him up for 3 hours. It was quite hairy, if I remember. But wrestling was a big part of my growing up, as it was yours.
Yeah, it was. Dusty was everybody's favorite. Dusty Rhodes. Right. Dusty was a bad guy at first. Teamed up with Murdoch, and they were the Outlaws from Texas. Wore the plain trunks, and all of a sudden Dusty comes back as a little platinum Jerry curl look. Kind of had this lisp going on, maybe kind of like part Texas country boy, part black preacher, and he'd say, "I'm gonna tell you one thing, Gordon Soley."
That's pretty good.
He says, "Let me get his favorite line. I can't mess this one up."
You didn't even the line.
Yeah, it's in here somewhere. So anyway, I've wined and dined with kings and queens, and I've slept in alleys and died on pork and beans.
He was a man of the people.
He was a man of the people.
Know his history, he came from nowhere.
Yeah, he came from nowhere.
And it's funny because a lot of times wrestlers would dominate as a heel, which is a bad guy up north, and then move to another wrestling area and be a good guy.
Yeah.
And they never heard of him. Dusty Rhodes never wrestled up north, but I know he was a hero of yours.
Yeah, he was huge. We had a bunch of them. Boris, the great Malenko.
Right.
Yeah, his favorite move was the eye gouge.
Well, it didn't work as well as wearing glasses.
but they were a hoot. But yeah, Gordon was the best though. He would say if there was pandemonium in the ring, he said it's a Pier 6 brawl.
I think a lot of these announcers use the same shtick.
Yeah.
I think who's a local guy? That Mean Gene Oakland uses some of the same shtick.
Oakland.
Mean Gene. Did I say Oakland?
All right, are we done?
I don't know. What can we close with? Great races in the American League East. I know football starts in this month, which sort of supersedes baseball. But what do you expect going forward the rest of the year in the American League East?
American League East, down to the last week. Earl Kimball says it'll depend on who gets a good starting pitcher or who gets Cole Hamels.
Who gets at the trading deadline?
Right. I think he's pretty right.
We know it won't be the Rays.
Won't be the Rays.
Yeah.
All right, we've done it again. Yep,
Not
we've
bad.
done it again. And by the way, I did not get thrown by a midget grappler.
No, you
I almost did though. You know what? I was a security guard at a wrestling match in Wisconsin, Stevens Point, Wisconsin,
right.
and almost did get toppled by some guy in wearing overalls. But
a wrestler or
no,
a fan?
He's a guy in the fan. Yeah,
who thought maybe you were one of the midget wrestlers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right, we're done.
Another episode.
Another episode.
Yeah, Tom.
I'm Tom.
I'm Fern. We'll see you next week.
See ya.